Hello again, and welcome to Tap Into Miracles. Tonight we're going to speak about a little bit about compassion and what it really means. A lot of people are using the word in spiritual circles. In A Course in Miracles, it has its own uh, definition, and all through the text and the lessons. And then I've read some blogs on the internet where some people are saying that it's a word that means sympathy and empathy, and thinking it was very weak, to have compassion, which I feel is just the opposite, because it means that you have a knowledge and an understanding as to where people are coming from when they hurt you. And so that you have been kind of elevated to a level of awareness and understanding that you don't have to judge what's happening or what happened in the past. You don't have to condemn, you don't have to blame anymore, because you have this understanding, and the perception is not an old way of looking at things, which would mean to get even, to get revenge, and which continues in the world. And that's why there's wars and people thinking, we need to get back at so and so for doing such and such or whatever, and the competition continues. So a lot of the competition that we see in the world, people trying to outdo another person, is really attack. It's a form of attack, and there's a judgment there about them, their own self, that if they don't compete, so compassion kind of runs the gamut. It's like it runs the gamut all the way across the board, whereas you're not only having compassion for and understanding for the other person or persons or even countries. You're having compassion and understanding about yourself, so you're able to forgive yourself and to make a new pathway for yourself, and you're kind of easing up, you're lightening up on yourself, so that you're not putting yourself down, you're not lowering your frequency, cellular construction, you're not setting yourself up for more suffering in the future because of those judgments, and judgment against the self, creating guilt, is going to send messages to the subconscious mind that eventually the inner mind, that is a protective mind but thinks like a child, because it's the programming from childhood. If it gets those, continues to feel the feelings of guilt, it's going to find something in life that would suit the crime, so to speak. So then you find yourself having to suffer in ways that you think, okay, now why is this happening to me again? So, so we learn to have compassion through changing our perceptions about what is occurring, and how that benefits us and why we want to move in that direction, and how that benefits the rest of the world as well. What benefits me, what benefits my own personal life, benefits everything through the law of attraction that I am associated with, the people, my home, even my pets, my plants, everything. So it's a beautiful, powerful energy that we need to really kind of connect with a lot more. So let's talk about how powerful you are. Okay? Based on a lot of spiritual teachings, we are like if a god that had all omnipotent power, had complete knowledge of everything, for some reason decided to forget that she was God, or it was God, and falls asleep. And because it is this being is a god-like creature, or being, this dream is beyond anything that you could possibly compare it to, because it's creating worlds, and because it forgets that it is a god-like being, becomes trapped in its own dream, because then it's the new reality. So this is in essence a kind of, that's my analogy anyway, of what this world is supposed to be. We are the sleeping gods. We are one facet of an immense body of knowledge. So it's like, and this again is my analogy, if you took this being that is bigger than the sun or the galaxy, and you put little sparks of light into each one of these so-called beings that are in the dream, and they're all dreaming of this world. So it's all different parts or particles of one being. So and so that each one of those little particles, like a ripple on the ocean, believes it's a separate from the rest of the ocean, but it's not, you know. So it's really part of the entire ocean of wisdom and knowledge, etc. But it's dreaming of separateness. So then, of course, it develops this mindset which we call the ego, and the ego takes on a life of its own, and has an awareness, even though it's an illusion, part of the illusion. It has an awareness that somehow it's very vulnerable, and so it wants to save itself. So it thinks in its own little illusionary mind that if it gets rid of the true being, which it can't, okay, because it was created, but it's not even created because it's an illusion. It's just being utilized temporarily in the dream, in the illusion world. So anyway, so the whole point is that eventually we all wake up and we realize we're one big powerful being. And the Course in Miracles teaches us that we have all the power, more, just like in the Bible where Jesus says all these things that I have done, all these miracles I have made, raising the dead, healing the sick, walking on water, moving mountains, all these things you can do and greater. But obviously nobody believes that because nobody's doing it. They say, well, I believe this and I don't believe it. You know what? It doesn't matter what you believe, because the truth is here. The truth is here, and it will make itself known to us. Eventually, our minds will awaken to the truth. So whatever we believe is immaterial. It's just what you think about. Meanwhile, in the meantime, so it's fine to believe in whatever you want to believe. Anyway, so we're waking up now. It's time to wake up to the reality of who and what we are. Eventually, that's going to happen, and that's part of the whole awakening process. So while this process is getting ready to take place, the whole idea of having compassion is to realize that people are, the minds of people, the egos are in conflict, and they are striking out against the creation that they have made, that they have taken part in, that we have co-created in this world, because they don't know that they created it and that they took part in it and that they have this power to undo it. or heal it, or change it, or whatever, make it more beautiful, make it more peaceful. And in the Course it says that, meanwhile, if you have a cognitive dream, you ever had a dream where you knew you were dreaming? Okay, that's what's happening now. So what I am talking about is cognitive dreaming. So if you know you're in a dream, you choose to have a happy dream instead of a nightmare. Okay, so I've already been sick. I've already been, had trials and errors and pain and suffering and drama and all that stuff. So now that I'm more cognitive of the fact that I chose to experience those things, because if I'm all power, then I nothing could happen to me without my choosing that in some form, in some way, having some responsibility in its occurrence. So then I can change my mind. I changed my mind. I don't want that. I changed my mind to accept the opposite of that. And then I ask the universe or the higher power or the source, show me the opposite of that. Show that to me, and then leave it alone. Because when you leave it alone and you leave it up to the power of that source of whence you came, you are priming the universe. It's like a pump, like the old-fashioned pump that you have to pump it to get the water to come up from the well. And so this is what we do when we prime the universe, or the source of all things, for ourselves. We simply say, show me. Show me what it feels like to have this illusion healed, to have this pain healed, to have a happier life, to have the happy dream. And then don't try to figure it out. Because when you try to figure it out, the ego jumps in and screws it up. And creates a whole nother facet of another insane dream. So you just leave it alone. You say, have the faith to just leave it alone, and know that will be answered. And don't try to figure out where it's coming from. Don't figure out what direction that's got to come from. Don't say, well, it'll probably have to come from here, or if you wanted, this is basically what the law of attraction talks about, and it does work as long as you're not utilizing the ego for those purposes, because the ego doesn't want. The ego will throw you little tidbits now and then, but it doesn't have you in its best interest. It isn't a part of you. It's part of the illusion. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me. And if you have any comments or suggestions to add to the conversation of compassion, or any subject that you would like to have on this series, please comment below. Please subscribe and give us a thumbs up if you feel that this has contributed to in any way, shape, or form. Thank you. God bless you. Bye-bye.